Good afternoon. Welcome to Composition 2. Today we will be discussing Lecture 7, and we will be moving to a new chapter, Chapter 3, and it will be talking about gender and relationships. Now, the focus of this chapter is going to be to learn how to write about communication style differences between men and women. Now, when we talk about gender, we're talking about either male or female, right? Now, when these two kinds meet and want to express something to each other, they do it in different manners. So, women tend to be different from men when it comes to communication. And this chapter is going to focus on that idea, and it's going to give us some new ideas and new vocabulary as to how these differences go about and how these differences are realized. If you look at the photos on page 46, let me just turn to the photo here. You will find that you have a bunch of photos, and if you look at this one, for instance, the first one to your left, you see that a man is basically speaking to a woman in a kitchen, and as you can see under the photo here, it says, the man says, "Will you please go to the store for some eggs? Please go to the store for some eggs and buy some eggs." That's what he meant. Go for the store and buy some eggs. So the comparison between that's how a man would say this. That's how a man would express the idea of wanting his partner to, wanting his female partner to do something for him. And compare that to the next photo here, where a woman is speaking to a man this time, and she says, "I really need a few things from the store, but I'm so tired. But I'm so tired." So the difference between the two photos is that when a man speaks, he speaks directly, affirmatively, and whereas when it comes to women speaking to men, they're more indirect in their approach. So she didn't say, "I don't want to go to the store," and she didn't say, "ask the man to go to the store." She said that she would like some things from the store, but she's just too tired to go. And she was kind of expecting the man to respond and say, "No worries, I'll go and get them for you, get the things for you." So that's the basic idea. Now, if we go back here, the same sentences underneath the photos in your book are written here, where the man says, "Will you please go to the store for some eggs?" And a woman would say, "I really need a few things from the store, but I'm so tired." And a man would say, "It's a nice day." And whereas a woman would say, "It's a nice day, isn't it? Don't you think so?" So a man would say, "It's a nice day," being affirmative, and that's it. Whereas a woman would be kind of indirect and not so affirmative and direct in her expression of ideas. So that's the basic idea. The chapter discusses this. Of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be true entirely, and you don't necessarily have to agree with everything. But I mean, it's just a topic of discussion, and it's something that you can play around with and learn about some more, and probably express your point of view as well. Now, if we move on to the next slide here, excuse me. Now, there's a reading passage on page 48 and 49. What I want you to do is stop the lecture here and read the reading passage on page 48. Right? We will take a look at this together, but I can't promise to read the whole passage for you because that will be just dull. We've done it before, and I've had some complaints that it's something really boring since all you have the books, but some of you are complaining that they haven't had a chance to get hold of the textbook yet. But let's go through some paragraphs so we can at least know what the reading passage is talking about. Okay, so the title of the passage is Gender Differences in Communication. Now, the focus is communication, in communication. So it says, all of us have different styles of communicating with other people. So you could consider that to be a thesis statement being formalized here. So all of us have different styles of communicating with other people. Our style depends on a lot of things: where we're from, how and where we were raised, our educational background, and our age. It also can depend on our gender. Now, this is the idea here. This is the connection with our chapter here. Generally speaking, men and women talk differently. Although there are varying degrees of masculine and feminine speech characteristics in each of us, but women do speak in very particular ways that are associated with gender. Right, so women have their way of talking. Some researchers describe the styles that men and women use to communicate as debate versus relate, report versus report, or competitive versus cooperative, with the first term in each pair describing men. In other words, so what it means by the last sentence between brackets is with the first term in each pair describing men, meaning debate versus relate. A man would be more of leaning towards debate, report instead of rapport, competitive rather than cooperative. Right. In other words, men often seek direct solutions to problems and useful advice, whereas women tend to try to establish intimacy by discussing problems and showing concern and empathy. So these are two ways that men and women differ when it comes to speaking. Now, just read the final paragraph here on our screen. In her book, Women, Men, and Language, New York, Longman Incorporated, 1986, Jennifer Coates studied men-only and women-only discussion groups. She found that when women talk to each other, they reveal a lot about their private lives. They also stick to one topic for a long time. Let all speakers finish their sentences and try to have everyone participate. Men, on the other hand, rarely talk about their personal relationships and feelings, but compete to prove themselves better informed about current affairs, travel, and sports. They change topics often and try to dominate the conversation. So, this author, Jennifer Coates, studied how men and women speak and came up with a lot of observations and put them in a book, a very nice book if you'd like to read it. Now, this is the basic idea. I don't want to continue, honestly, reading the whole reading passage. We've read half through. You can do the other half. Okay? Now, if we go back to our PowerPoint here, this is a very desperate attempt to get you a copy of a screenshot of the reading passage, but it didn't work. So there are questions now on page 49 that we would like to take a look at. And the first question, there are a set of 4 questions, I believe. And what these questions are intended to do is to make you think about the topic for a minute or two. So, according to the reading passage, the first question says, according to the reading passage, what are some differences in face-to-face communication styles between men and women? Now, this is something you have to take from the passage and just write them down. This is a way that you can kind of educate yourself about a topic. So let's say you on a final exam you were told that you are going to get you're going to have a topic. You're going to be asked to write about a topic between gender differences in conversation, and you come across this article. It's kind of you read this article, but you need to study the article very well and to get as much information from it so it can stick in your brain and your memory, so when it comes to writing your composition you are quite informed. Okay, so we're just going to read through these questions and kind of wait for you to answer them on your own after reading the reading passage in your book. Okay, so according to the reading passage, what are some differences in face-to-face communication, communication styles between men and women? Now, if you could just remember what we just said about what we just read in the reading passage up to where we stopped, I think if you could remember or go back in the lecture, you could find that you could easily jot them down on a piece of paper and formulate a sentence about that. Second question is, according to the reading passage, what are some differences in the online communication styles of men and women? Now, this is something we didn't read. This comes in the second half of the reading passage, where there is discussion about, okay, when it comes to face-to-face communication, there's a difference between men and women. Fine. But what about when discussion and communication happens between men and women online? Let's say through a chatting program, an online chat program, or a website. What happens then? Are they the same? Are men the same as they are in real life or face-to-face conversation, and are women the same as well? Or are they different when it comes to online communication? You have to read and find out. Question number 3, give an example from your own experience of each of these communication style differences. A, debate versus relate. B, report versus rapport. And C, competitive versus cooperative. Try to give examples from your own experience. This is something, of course, you can only do. Number 4, what does Aglaide's we mean when she says that online communication is potentially liberating? Do you agree? Now, Aglaide's we is an author, another author mentioned in the text, in the reading passage, and she said something about online communication, and she said it's potentially liberating from, the pressures of society, situations, that kind of thing. And we ask the question, do you agree with her? Do you agree with this point of view? Okay. Now, sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to try to answer the previous questions on your own. Try to write correct grammatical sentences as best as you can. And of course, our usual, remember to post responses. A response on the course forum, please do not send it as email. Now, what do you do when it comes to these 4 questions asked before? I just want you to write 1 sentence to 2 sentences maximum. But please make sure that you are writing a correct sentence. Just try to focus to produce a correct sentence. Don't write anything long or very long, but yet don't write anything something very short. Okay? And post it there, and we'll see how it goes. Okay? Now, I'd like to stop here, and I'd like you to move to the next lecture. Thank you very much.